In the studio, it is the one and only Senator John Polk. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am fine on this first day of November.
There you go. I understand we got you fresh because you haven't been this additional chairman since, what now, about 3 or 4 days.
I think the official letter went out Wednesday, and kind of the public found out Thursday.
Ink's not even dry on the new nameplate there, but it's the chair of the American Rescue Plan Senate Committee that apparently the Lieutenant Governor put together.
Well, Lieutenant Governor and Chairman Hobson did that, and it's a subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee made up of 7 members.
And those members have been named, of course, now?
Yes, they have.
How often do you meet, and what's the objective of the committee?
Well, since Thursday, we haven't met.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to wrap my arms around what we're to do, how we're to do it, what type of form the chairman wants our final product in. We've got a lot to learn. We've got a lot to figure out in the next 8 weeks because the chairman did say he'd like to have something to look at first week of January.
So when you talk about $1.8 billion in this rescue, that's our money for Mississippi.
That is Mississippi's money.
And as far as what you know now, who gets it and how is it to be used?
Well, that $1.8 billion, it goes to be spent by the legislature. It goes in the Treasury, the legislature. The governor has about $166 million that went to him that it looks like he may spend on infrastructure. And then schools, IHL.
Wait a minute. Let's go back on that one. Is that optional? Since he gets $166 million to divvy out the way he wants to, right. Is that he can do it in infrastructure or in whichever way he wants to? That's
my understanding, but I could be wrong on that.
Who sets the parameters for this? If you're going to be chairman of this, you've got to have here are the things you can do and you can't do.
Right. The federal government has sent down what they call their interim final proposal.
So you got a lot of studying to do.
A lot of studying to do. We got a lot of good people on staff that have already gone through much of this information.
I hope you got some lawyers on there.
Do we need lawyers? Yeah, we've got some lawyers.
You're going to need some lawyers on there. But what are some of the other ways that is you think needs to be spent?
Well, first thing, we can replace lost revenue. Mm-hmm. So my first job, I think, is to find out how much lost revenue the state of Mississippi had.
From what?
From the COVID epidemic.
Did we have any?
Well, that's just it. I don't know. I've heard numbers anywhere from 0 to $250 million. So my first job, I think, is to find out how much money we lost. Let's get that in a pot over here and put it in the general fund. Secondly, the lieutenant governor has proposed to a lot of the locals, and I agree with this proposal, to do some type of match grant with the funds that they have received. Yeah. They've received $947 million, and the governor, a lieutenant governor, wants to take those funds and that we have and look at matching some of those on infrastructure projects. Yeah.
Is that a 2-to-1 or is it a 3-to-1 or as far as the Department of Transportation is concerned?
That has not been decided. It could be anything we decide to make it.
Some of the municipalities are going to say we need it for infrastructure, underground too, water systems and things such as that. Is that also a possibility that they could?
Yes.
They've got to just do their RFPs for them, I would imagine.
They have to do their prior planning. They have to have projects that they know they need and are worthy. And then also we're looking at water associations. That's an infrastructure component that many people leave out. But water associations in rural Mississippi are very important.
One of the things I always think about is that bill that we had many years ago. Jerry Turner was part of that, the reverse auction.
Yes.
And I'm not even sure where that stands now. Did they completely do away with that, or is it still in the bidding process?
As it stands now, it is no longer in the bidding process.
Mm-hmm. In this particular situation, probably would have been a good idea and a way to save money.
It would. It's always, I hate to say it, a crapshoot of how you do things. Mm-hmm. The one thing I hope we can do is keep from having so many, quote, emergency bids. A lot of this COVID funds recently, the Department of Education decided they had waited long enough that now all spending their money was an emergency. And they went and got a lot of approvals from different boards to be able to go the emergency route, which pretty much takes it out of competitive bidding.
Is there? I mean, I'm going back to see what the losses were, but I'm just thinking through the 2020 year and even through this year to date. Seems like our revenues as far as monthly income has been exceeding expectations. So I'm wondering where we lost money.
That we may not have.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We've got to have staff determine are there dollars out there that we did lose.
Have you heard or seen October numbers?
I did. No, not October. I've seen September.
September. Well, yeah. What was we were over, of course.
We were over.
Right?
We're running about 20% over projections for each month. I think right now we're right at $200 and maybe $83 million ahead of
It's
forecast.
going to be interesting since this is November 1st to see what October happens to be and see if inflation is beginning to eat into that.
Well, Paul, inflation is eating into everything.
Yeah.
And that I tell people this when we start looking at the budget for next year, realize that I think they said 5.6% inflation rate. The first thing you've got to do on a $6 billion budget is you need $300 million more just to cover what we did this year.
Bingo. There you go.
And I don't think people think sometimes about inflation affecting state budgets like that.
Well, everything from school bus, the gas that they use to get our kids to school, and everything. It just when gas goes up, it affects everything. As
Absolutely.
You well know. We were speaking of the lowest gas in the Jackson area. Somebody asked me. I said at Sam's Club it's $2.89, Costco $2.89, and a Quick Stop in Ridgeland it's $2.89. So I think both of us have problems with the throats this morning.
We do.
But in most cases it's around $3 to $3.15.
Yeah,
and that eats up.
I travel through McGee a lot. I have a business in McGee, and usually some of the cheapest gas prices are in McGee at like $2.97 right now, and they are creeping up quickly.
I was looking at McGee. They don't show McGee on here for the this morning, but $2.89, $2.79. I think on the coast we found out somebody had it at $2.39, but they're probably going to give out of gas pretty fast at $2.30.
I think I'll drive down there and get some.
I was going to say at $2.39, there's going to be a line of people at that gas station, and it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, we had the president say something yesterday with Judge Janine. He says, how stupid is it for us to, at the same time, be promoting or trying to buy gas, telling our people to shut down production, at the same time begging the people in OPEC to increase production. It's just gone bizarre in Washington, D.C. All right, so what's the next step on this one? When are the dates? Is there a time ticking on this one? We'll lose the money if we don't use it, or what's the criteria for that?
I think it's like 2024 when we have to have things ready. Money has to be spent by 2026. So when you look at it at first, you say, oh, well, we got plenty of time, but we don't. A lot of these projects take a long time to get ready. Yeah. And then also, I look at it like this. You've got a lot of people out there, Paul, in Mississippi who want some of this money. Until we, as a legislature, decide where that money's going, those people are in limbo. They don't know if they can get some of the money or not. And I think it's disingenuous if we don't tell them as fast as we can, you're going to get money or you're not going to get money.
When we come back, I want to ask you your advice that all of these municipalities or counties need to hear about how to go about this, when to do it, and I'm also wondering who are the checks and balances after those contracts come in. Who's going to look them over with a fine-tooth comb and also say this is a good value or a bad value, and you could do this cheaper, et cetera. Or do we even have people to do that? More with Senator Polk. I see in the studio, it's Senator John Polk, who's also Senate District 44, Lamar, Pearl River. You don't have an election in your area. I don't think so. No, I don't think there's any elections to fill the seats tomorrow in your area. It's also Accountability, Efficiency, and Transparency Vice Chairman of Appropriations. The bills that you're going to enter, anything of note when we get around to dropping the hopper for January?
Not necessarily. I do want to kind of clear up the bill that dealt with reverse auction. And some of our attorneys say that the way the bill was written last year and passed, that it actually prohibits the use of reverse auction. And so I'm wanting to introduce...
A lot of other states do that, don't they?
Yes.
For people, here's why I just think it's a great idea. It's a capitalist, private sector good idea that should work in government, but politics keeps it from working like it should. But explain that to people who don't understand what a reverse auction is.
Well, if they've ever watched, and I'm not sure what the name of the show is, there's a show on TV where there are hotshot drivers that drive loads all over
the shipping wars.
Yeah, and they use reverse auction.
Yeah.
They just keep beating it. What you do is you set a minimum price of a bid that you'll accept, and then after that bid is accepted by the vendors, they go online for 2 or 3 hours, and you let each vendor lower the price every 15 minutes. Let's say if
they're bidding against themselves.
And they're bidding against themselves and others. And when the show's over, the lowest price for that project wins.
I was given an example in one of our many interviews that, let's say you're buying a cat bulldozer or something for groundwork or whatever it happens to be in the southern part of the Mississippi. And all of a sudden you leave it to the local people to do that, and they know somebody, and they're getting a kickback, or they got somebody who says, you need to come over here, so-and-so's brother owns this place, whatever it happens to be. But they buy the top of the line that's maybe not needed, or all of a sudden somebody says this has got a snowblower attached to it. So it winds up costing the taxpayers a lot more money. You can take these examples for product or service all day long. There's so many examples of this one. But this way, the need is explicitly whether it's product or service, the need is explicitly labeled there, then you bid on it.
That's right, and the specification is the important part.
Yeah.
Any bid needs great specifications written so you know exactly what is bid on and what you expect that bid to include.
And anybody in the country can do that.
Anybody in the country can do that.
Now, so what were the problems? Was it a technical problem with this?
Some of the local governments said that it prohibited competition because there might not be anyone in their area that would bid on that project as a reverse auction. In that case, I think many times the vendors were putting pressure on the boards to not do reverse auctions by saying, I'm not going to participate. Well, that's that vendor's prerogative.
Yeah.
They don't want to participate, fine, you don't get the business.
Well, if somebody 300 miles away wants to do that, then they're losing the business, and that's their problem.
That's right, and it really worked just like the old seal bid that we're supposed to be that we were using, and everybody was used to.
Somebody was breaking the seal sometimes.
Sometimes, but what this did is the seal bid started the bidding, and then you had more chances to get a lower bid.
I would think you would get more people, and I would think that the local people probably have the heads because they wouldn't have to transport something. They wouldn't have to ship it from there to here, so they do have the upper hands on that for the most part.
I always thought they did.
So that's going to be brought back up in the session?
What I'm going to do is try to get a bill passed that will at least allow a government entity to use reverse auction.
Good deal. So let's go through just quickly here in the remaining time some of the advice from you as chairman of this, John Polk, who's Senator Polk, what the municipalities or counties or these people need to be doing to line up, to get ready now, this far out.
Well, the first thing they have to do is apply for the federal government to get their funds. There's $947 million out there for counties and cities, and they have to get that. They have to apply for it, or they don't get it. After they get those funds, they've got to determine what they want to use them for, specifically in infrastructure, because the lieutenant governor is promoting a grant program that would match funds for worthy infrastructure projects of counties and cities. He's already got several in his office being looked at. The committee that I sub-chair will have to also recommend, how do we vet all these projects? How do we decide which ones are worthy? How do we monitor that they've spent the money correctly? And I've talked to the auditor, Shad White, and we've had a good conversation about what his duties will be. But that's after the fact duties.
If City A decides that they want to spend $47 million on this particular project, let's say underwater pipes or a bypass somewhere, then you've got to know that they've already spent that on there if they come back and ask for more money on the same project or something. In other words, how do you keep up from the duplicity or could they get half of it there and half from you?
Well,
half from the 947 and half from the 1.8.
That's what we're going to have to decide. That's what the committee will be vetting, be looking at. I've got a great committee members on the committee. I think we'll have a lot of many good ideas from them.
Yeah.
I want to hear from them. I have not made any decisions as what's going to happen. I'm just trying to organize and, as I say, herd cats right now.
How's this working with the House? I mean, do you have a counterpart there? Or?
I do not. In fact, the Speaker has been kind of slow in this. In fact, in the last press conference he had, I understand he said that there really wasn't an urgency to it. And that's his stance on it. So we don't have anybody, but the Lieutenant Governor wanted to go ahead and start getting ahead of this.
So for all practical purposes, what the end result of what you'll be doing is just advice
to the chairman of appropriations, and then he'll determine whether to bring that forth to the full committee, which are 26 members. And if we pass it in a committee, then it'll go before the full Senate, and we can pass it there and then send it to the House and let them decide what to do.
I haven't had a chance to ask you about the medical marijuana, but you don't think that the special session, you think it may be a little bit iffy? You think it might not be called?
Every day that we wait, I think it becomes more iffy. I mean, we're looking right now at, 2.5 weeks to Thanksgiving. Nobody works during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at December. You're looking at Christmas, New Year, and here we are in regular session. So do we waste a lot of money this late in the session, or do we just wait to the regular session?
It has been called on a Monday before to meet on a Friday or even a Thursday, has it not?
It has.
It's not out of the picture that he could do it this week. But,
that's true. That's true.
And if he does, I don't know if it'll shock anybody, but there are a lot of people thinking that he'll just wait till January.
Yeah, that's a lot of thought. I personally have not talked to him, so I have no idea.
Have you talked to any of the home folks and your constituents about the medical marijuana?
Paul, it's interesting. Medical marijuana has not come up in a discussion I've had in Lamar County, Pearl River County.
Is that right?
It has not come up.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think our people don't see it as a pressing issue. I think they see it that we're doing something about it. We are prepared. And another thing we don't hear about, is the initiative process.
That's true.
I have not had anyone talk to me about the initiative process.
Well, the initiative process will be the same thing with redistricting. As important that is, not a lot of people talking about it.
They're not, and I guess they're just going to leave it to the legislature to decide. But redistricting, we've got to do the congressional districts almost immediately.
That's it.
When we get to Jackson in January.
The session will be 3 months, not 4 months this time around. And what do you think of course, if you get the medical marijuana out before the session, then it's going to be just battling over this money for the most part, wouldn't you think?
Well, we got the marijuana. We've got redistricting. We've got this ARPA money. We've got the initiative. The Speaker, of course, is pushing his no income tax proposal.
Yeah.
We'll have to deal with that. And then there's always that other thing that nobody sees right now coming that will happen, whatever that is.
That's got to be Medicaid, Mississippi Medicaid expansion.
It depends. The governor and the Speaker have both said they're not interested at all. I think the lieutenant governor has opened the door just a little bit on it to at least discuss it. So we'll just have to see where it goes.
Has the membership been canvassed on that as far as the House Senate is concerned?
To my knowledge, they have not.
They have not. Keep us informed. Whatever you need some PR out there across the state, let us know. We'll be glad to help you.
Thank you very much, Paul.